6th, 2025, District 7 Board of Education Special Meeting. Becky, would you please call the roll?
Bertles. Here. Sanderson.
She's not.
Ahart.
He's hungry.
Bauer.
Can Scott hear us?
Can you hear Scott?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you
I'm
here?
sorry, I didn't hear you call me. Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Scott's
Bauer.
here.
Brehan.
Here.
Carver.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Proctor.
Here.
Patty.
Here. Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome everybody to this evening's special school board meeting. At this time, I'd like to stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I always want to say it too fast. I don't want to rush through it. Sorry. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 6th, 2025 agenda as it has been presented this evening. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Becky, please call the roll.
Oh, I got a discussion. Tonight's agenda? Is that what you're seeking approval on?
Yes. Yes.
I had placed in a request for the action items to be added onto the agenda. I just wanted to express my disappointment about the decision not to proceed forward, but it is what it is.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Do we discuss what that topic was?
About the bond approval, I watched our last board meeting and it was evident we needed a clear direction, not just a discussion topic. And so I had asked for it to be an action item, but it's now just a discussion topic. So
Okay.
hopefully some good comes of it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Becky, please call the roll.
Bertles.
Yes.
Sanderson. Ahart.
Yes,
Bauer.
Yes.
Brehan.
No,
Carver. Yes. Johnson.
Oh, they don't get a vote.
Proctor.
No vote.
Patty.
Yes. Okay. At this time, the board has set aside time for anyone wishing to address the board. I would like to remind our public this portion of the meeting for a maximum of 60 minutes time is reserved for comments from the public in accordance with policy 2230, public participation at Board of Education meeting and petitions to the board as follows. This will be the only opportunity to address the board during the regular meeting. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. A screen timer will be provided. Individuals may not defer their time to another speaker. If your comments are about matters involving students or district personnel, please refrain from disclosing names. Please understand that the board will not respond to questions made during public comments, but may direct the superintendent to address these questions in a district communication or a subsequent board meeting. Please remember that the board generally needs to gather additional information about any questions or concerns prior to responding or taking action. At the conclusion of the meeting, if you have additional questions for the board, please see the board secretary. Okay, and I have some people that signed up, and the first name on the list is Karen Zimmerman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't have notes this time, but I would like to bring something up that will probably impact your long-term horizon, planning horizon, over the next 25 years as a minimum. And that involves what's going on over at the city, since 70% of my taxes go here. Any tax break that is given to a developer means that it's denied to this forum. So I always go back to statute, and I'll probably bring this up at a little bit more in detail. I only get 3 minutes, right? So going back to statute, in order to fully understand what's going on, out of the view of our elected officials, if you will, is a couple of things that I think need to happen. And that is to get a legal opinion on the definition of contiguous, straight out of the statute. Number one, so you can fully appreciate what's going on. Two, another one is pervasive unemployment and economic distress. Those two terms, as are in the statute for enterprise zones. So right now, what's on the agenda from an integration standpoint of all our taxing bodies is a proposal to give tax breaks for 25 years to development pretty much anywhere in the city of Edwardsville for people that get how the game is played. Okay, and once it's done in Edwardsville, Glen Carbon will copy it, and that is money that will go to developers to fix economic distress in Edwardsville and Glen Carbon, as opposed to coming to the school board. Just full disclosure, the state's attorney has been given information from the standpoint of the TIFs, and that's supposedly gone over to the ISP. So just, you all are my elected officials. It'd be great to know what our elected officials feel with respect to how our taxes are being manipulated. Okay, thank you. Oh, and the last time I brought something up, nobody ever got back to me. I don't know if that's normal, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Stacy Shelton. No? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Jacob Goebel.
Good evening. I just want to talk about some comments that were made at the last board meeting in regards to floating the idea of consolidating the Midway and Hamel schools together. I thought, under the understanding that since we had, the last board had spent the money for the drainage problem at Midway, that the idea has kind of been gone away since we decided to fix up the Midway school. I kind of find that sad if we're this short of cash that we've already spent the money to then decide to close that school up. And also it'd be hard for the people that live up in that area for their kids that then have to travel all the way over to Hamel to send their kids to school. Just wanted to voice my opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Nunn.
Good evening. My name is Amy Nunn, and I'm a first grade teacher at Hamel Elementary School. I speak to you tonight on behalf of myself and many of my colleagues to respectfully remind you of the commitments made to our school through the 2023 bond measure. When voters approved this bond, it wasn't just a show of support. It was a vote of confidence based on specific promises: a new gym, additional classroom space, and asbestos abatement. These weren't wish list items. They were critical needs communicated clearly by the district and endorsed by our community in good faith. Nearly 2 years later, we ask, where's the progress? The trust our community placed in this district is built on follow-through. Delays and lack of transparency send a troubling message, not just about priorities, but about whether the district truly values the voices of families in all areas of this district. We also need to address the continued lack of an administrator and special education services at our northern primary schools. This isn't just a staffing issue, it is an equity issue. We cannot say we are empowering each student to achieve personal success while entire schools go without the resources that other schools receive as a matter of course. The district's theme this year is all means all. That phrase is printed on these shirts that were given to staff on the first day of the school year. Actions speak louder than slogans. The definition of all is the whole quantity or extent of a particular group or thing. Staff members of Hamel Elementary would like to respectfully hand these shirts back to you and ask that they be returned only when all means all. Whether we are discussing 1,040 students, 140 students, or 1 student, all means all. Right now, all means all does not feel like a reality in our northern communities. We hope that changes. We want to wear these words proudly, but only when they are backed by action. We urge you, keep the promises made. Ensure equity across all campuses, and to remember that our students and your integrity are depending on it.
Thank Justin Gershner? Did I pronounce that correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Good job.
awesome. Thanks.
I'm Justin Gershner, Mayor of the Village of Hamel. I'm the father of 2 District 7 students, and I'm the husband of my favorite District 7 speech therapist. I attended the Engage District 7 meetings in the fall of 2022. I'm not here to claim sour grapes about the $15.2 million that was committed to Hamel. I'm just here to appeal for accountability, staying true to the promises made to voters with the remaining funds available. Last meeting, it was said the promise plan for Hamel Elementary was a consolidation plan. The promise plan was not one that required consolidation. It was very clear that that's the narrative, but it's not supported by documentation from this board that's on the district website and passed by this board. To refresh some background, at the end of November 2022, there's a midway info meeting about consolidation, many months ahead of the April 2023 election. The district did not change communication leading up to the vote. It was stated this would happen regardless of consolidation, as option A included a new gym, offices, art room, music room, and a single wing expansion along with midway repairs. Option B was a double wing expansion at Hamel that included consolidation. Option A was presented in the final December presentation and report in the list that specified priorities highest to lowest, which was presented and approved by this very board. In the January 9th, 2023 board meeting, action item 5.3 passed unanimously. Priorities numbered in order. Priority 1, double entry doors for all schools. Priority 2 was Lincoln. Priority 3 was Hamel. Priority 4 was Midway. How are those both on there if it's consolidation? Then priority 7 was safe and accessible gyms, and priority 8 on the final priority list was media centers. Call me biased, but I'm a bit baffled how a priority 3 is being considered as being approved by the board, but in the same discussion of being passed over for a priority 7/8 at this point. Hamel Elementary is riddled with asbestos. Although relatively safe when undisturbed, at the final presentation for the December 2022 Engage 7 PowerPoint, it showed a picture of a falling ceiling tile where asbestos had already been disturbed. So simply put, what's the wait to ensure our students' safety and to improve their educational experience? I know projects take time. I know from the village side. They require engineering, bid processes, etc. I'm saying Hamel's here and ready to partner with the school district on this project. I have cards I'd love to share with everybody. I would love to continue this conversation because I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm ready to work for our students. So overall, my request is for an action item for the next board meeting to be put on to label Hamel Elementary as the priority for the remaining bond funds as presented in 2022, as passed by this board to put on the ballot in 2023, and affirmed by the voters in April of 2023. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's everyone that signed up. Is there anybody else in attendance who would like to say something? Okay. Before we move on to the next agenda item, the board would like to thank those who spoke this evening. While we're unable to address the comments at this time, please know that the board will have conversations with administrators about the topics brought up tonight. You should expect to hear from Dr. Duncan or an appropriate staff member either by phone or email. Okay. And that brings us to the next section, policy section 2.1. Okay, Dr. Duncan.
All right, so we'll be discussing a couple of policies today. This first policy here is 4.60. It's about purchasing contracts. All purchases and contracts shall be entered into accordance with the applicable federal and state law. The board attorney shall be consulted as needed regarding the legal requirements for purchases of contracts. All contracts shall be approved or authorized by the board. A couple other points to note: when presenting a contract or purchase for board approval, the superintendent designee shall ensure that if it complies with applicable federal and state law, including but not limited to those specified below. Supplies, materials, or work involving an expenditure of excess of $35,000 must comply with the state law bidding procedures. Construction, lease, or purchase of school buildings must comply with state law board policy 4.150. Guaranteed energy savings must comply with Illinois 105. Third-party non-instructional services may comply with the Illinois School Code 105. And goods and services that are intended to generate revenue and other remunerations for the district in excess of $1,000, including without limitations, vending machine contracts, sports, or other attire, class rings, and photographic services must comply with 105 Illinois School Code. The Superintendent designee shall keep a record of each vendor, product, or service provided. 2, the actual net revenue and non-monetary remuneration for each contract or agreement. And 3, how the revenue was used and to whom the non-monetary remuneration was distributed. The superintendent or designee shall report this information to the board by completing the necessary forms that must be attached to the district's annual budget. Any contract to purchase food with a bidder or offer or must comply with the 105 Illinois School Code.
So I guess this was coming up, if I remember correctly, it was coming up for renewal at the same time that I think, Scott, you had a question about this policy and wanted to address it, right? Can you hear us?
Can I get back with you in a minute?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got something going right here.
Okay. But if I remember correctly, the discussion was to reduce the threshold
Correct.
for the
Yeah.
35,000.
This was discussed several
down
sessions
to a
ago.
lower
Correct.
amount.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I know Scott wasn't in attendance, and so we kind of tabled it to today.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, Bob, what I was talking about is in light of some of the things that we've had, and in a way of kind of getting a better vision on spending throughout the district, I was wanting to put a motion out there to tier step the spending for our admin. So the first threshold would be somewhere at 10,000 and below. It'd be as is now. From 10,000 to 15 or 20, however we want to let it out. The first thing that would have to happen is either the board chair or the vice chair would need to be notified. Anything above that would require the board being fully notified and voting on something. And the reason behind it, like I said, we see things coming up in project and we see them being held. That's something that shouldn't be happening, and we need a better control handle on our spending, of the money coming in and out of the district.
Hey Scott, you cut out after 10K and then you came back. So the 10K goes before who?
Yeah. Yeah, so the 10K, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, at 10K, it's business as usual. The superintendent wouldn't require any approval from any board members. From 10,000, and we can set the threshold either 15 or 20,000, all that would be required is superintendent or whomever would need to request authorization from either or both the board chair and vice chair. So that way the board is more engaged with spending that's happening, but still it allows whatever needs to be done to get taken care of. Anything above that threshold there would require the full board's approval. And I understand some may have apprehensions of what if emergency happens. Well, I've gone back and I looked at some of the things that have happened in an emergency, and none of these would meet that threshold. So it's just a means of us being able to get a better visual reference of what's being spent, how it's being spent, and being able to ask.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, when we were having this discussion before, the way the line is currently read is just as a threshold for when a bid process is required. I mean, if we want to talk about adding a line where it talks about that, that there be some notification for, things, sort of in that 10,000 to 25,000 range or something, as far as notifying and stuff of that nature. My personal opinion is if we start doing a better job of just monitoring the budget and where we're at on the budget, then that's kind of sort of up to the district to kind of manage as long as they're staying within the budget. This particular line is directed
I agree with
more.
what.
Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying, but I can only base things on how things have happened up to this moment. And so we can either continue down the road of saying we should do a better job, or we can put handles in place to make a stop and let's look and see.
Okay. So, I guess, can you get some language to Dr. Duncan and me on just how you want that to read and where you would like for it to show up? And then we can make that change and discuss, or, I mean, we'll need the exact wording that.
Yeah, well, how about, do any of the other board members have anything that they would like to add to it, or do they have any questions on it? I'm just trying to put something out there as a way of, catching things instead of, getting the, oh my gosh, where did this come from?
Scott, I like the idea of checks and balances. I like the idea of notification of the board on excessive spending, especially with some of the past purchases. But I don't know from a district standpoint, maybe Dave, you would know on, for example, toilet paper. Are we spending over $35,000 on toilet paper to where we need to bring that to the board? So as far as construction projects, I'm all for it. Day-to-day expenses, I think we'd be adding more work to ourselves. But those one-off purchases, i.e. shuttles or something like that, I agree that we need a little bit more checks and balances here.
Well, okay, in the example given there, something like a toilet paper, that's a supply item that should have been, something that's part of our, O&M or operational fund. These are things that are just popping up, and to this day, we've just been writing them off and expensing them out. And then once you start adding all these up, you're getting into the high thousands of dollars, that have flown under the radar. But now that it's, coming to light, we just need to get a handle on things.
Right.
Well, can we change the language to reflect not purchases and contracts, but projects related to contracts?
A project should have a budget that shouldn't be expensed out on a district card. That anything that exceeds the approved budget of the board for any project needs to come back to the board for approval for an expense, or override. The things that we're seeing were never brought forth, be it project or anything. We have a pawl on the side of a water tower that technically doesn't have to come to the board for approval.
So purchase and contracts excluding O&M?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go back and try to write something up and sort of in keeping with that and bring it and see how it goes. Is that cool? Is that cool, Scott? We'll send you a draft to look at.
Yes, sir.
And then we can
I like
discuss
that
it.
idea. Thank you.
Okay.
Scott, I will be more than happy to partner with you on this one. I don't want you to feel like you're just out there with the only thought that this needs to be under control. So I'll send you my recommendations and we'll go from there.
And some of this language.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that.
Some of the language in this policy, does it also apply to items that are bought on state contracts? And I'm not sure if that's the right language. That's what I'm struggling with. To know, or that those things do not normally go through a bidding process if it's gone through a state.
I see what you're saying, to make sure it's still clear that it has to come to the board for approval, even through that process. And I think we've kind of been doing that already. So we did that for the furniture for Lincoln and for EHS. So even those were bought on the state sort of purchasing system, we still brought that to the board for approval. Yeah, for me personally, I think this particular policy, where I think where some of the issues are for me are with the exemptions that don't require the state process or the $35,000 threshold. I think I've mentioned before, like for instance, if it's used equipment, that's an exemption that doesn't have to go through the bid process. I personally feel like the used exemption should be taken out because I don't know that we necessarily should be buying used equipment. I think that that's problematic for a lot of reasons.
Well, I think it warrants that this particular policy needs some tweaking
Yeah,
and
Absolutely.
adjustments. And I think it would behoove us to definitely look into what Scott has proposed as far as a checks and balances approach in wiping the slate clean and just making sure that we're keeping in check
okay,
with our expenditures going forward.
okay. So we'll spend some more time on that then. Okay? We cool to move on to the next policy? Okay, Dr. Duncan?
Yep, we will now talk about Board Policy 6280, grading and promotion. This is not a new policy. We have just updated some of the language within this policy. And so then what I would do is I will go over the new language and kind of show you where the language has changed. Gene, you have that PowerPoint? There we go. Thank you, sir. Okay, so decisions regarding the promotion or retention of a student shall be based on progress towards mastery of grade level standards, attendance, performance, on assessments and other academic indicators. So the verbiage that was in the policy previously said they used the completion of curriculum. And now we've changed it to grade level standards. We are not going to assess our students on how they performed on the curriculum. We're looking at how they're performing on grade level standards. So that was the first change in language.
No, I guess why is that a big deal? Or why is that merit changing?
Because when we're looking at students and their performance, we don't want to judge, the curriculum is just what supports it. We really want to make sure and engage where they are learning at based on the grade level standards. So that is where we're looking at all of our benchmarking, all of our interventions, all of our teaching is geared towards getting kids up to grade level.
Okay.
Would you say that's more kind of standard practice?
Yes.
So the policy was not necessarily aligned with how we
How we're
would
doing it.
prefer to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of older language in here.
Okay.
Second one, decisions regarding the promotion or retention of a student shall be based on progress towards mastery of grade level standards. Next one. The district shall provide intervention services to students who are not making satisfactory progress towards attaining the academic standards for their grade level. The original language said remedial assistance. Again, very outdated language. Now we're using interventions to ensure that if we see a kid that may be on the verge of being retained, or we're going to have this conversation, we're putting things in place to try to catch them up.
Okay.
And then the last two changes, any grade change made by school or district administrator must be communicated to the teacher. The previous language did not have that. The teacher did not have to be notified, which we believe is very important, that if a decision like this is being made, we're talking to the teacher, we're notifying the teacher why the decisions are being made. And then the second change is any grade change must be approved by an administrator with the appropriate documentation maintained to support the change. Again, this is more of a language item. The old language said that it must be signed. A change record, we no longer use change records. So again, this policy is more, these changes are more to update current practices.
Any questions about this one?
Can you share with, how were these changes developed? Who was involved as on the team or?
So this policy was developed for our DLT, and Tara Fox, the director of curriculum, was guiding the way on this one. Okay,
Are we
we
high
are,
school credit?
so we had an initial policy in there in talking about high school credit for grades 7 and 8. We've taken that out as we went through today, looking through it, that the draft language is not where we need it to be. So we're just gonna take it out and bring it back to the next work session, so when we can kind of clean the language up.
Okay. Cool. Then I guess we're done with policy discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on to Facilities and Finance Committee. 3.1, the 23 bond referendum priority discussion. Much talked about tonight. So, okay. I guess you want to just kind of show us the slides you had so far?
Yeah, so what we have here is we have the slides that, that outline the projects that are ranked by priority. As the Mayor Wharton gracefully told us and brought it up to us, you're 100% accurate. The first one was double entry doors at all District 7 schools. The second is Lincoln Middle School renovation rebuild. Third, Hamill Elementary School asbestos remediation rebuild. Fourth, Midway Elementary school repairs. Fifth, expansion of commons at the Edwardsville High School. Sixth, safe and accessible playgrounds at all elementary schools. Seven, safe and accessible gymnasiums at Leclerc and Carver Elementary School in Columbus. And number 8, renovation of the media center at Columbus Woodland Elementary Schools and new media center at Edwardsville High School.
Can I pause you right there?
You sure can.
There's some beeping going on out there. Are we in danger?
I think we're probably getting the
Of a
floors
waxy
cleaned out
floor,
there.
maybe.
Yeah.
Somebody was.
The Zamboni, that's how?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Awesome.
I feel a lot.
Thank you,
safer.
officer.
Thank you, officer.
Awesome.
Thanks for saving our lives.
Man. Okay.
And so this next slide here will kind of show where we're at within the process. Double entry doors at all schools, this has been complete. Lincoln Middle School renovation, we're finishing up phase 1. We're going into phase 2. We still have phase 3 left. Hamill asbestos remediation in classrooms, currently in concept design. Midway moisture mitigation, step 1 is completed. Expansion of Commons EHS, that's complete. Safe and accessible playgrounds, Columbus is complete. Remaining schools planned for O&M budget beginning 2027. Safe and accessible gymnasiums and media center renovation, these are still out there.
I got a question on Midway moisture mitigation. It says step 1 complete. Are there more issues out there that we're experiencing?
Based on the teachers in the room, they're saying yes. I would kind of follow up with Dave Courtney in the back if you could help me out a little bit. If anything has been reported to you about Midway.
The first phase was the drainage issues, and we've been evaluating compatibility numbers last year.
Just come on up, Dave.
But I believe that there are still some issues that probably need to be addressed. I don't think it fixed everything that we expected it to fix. We just noticed some issues in the last few months with some of the work that was done, and I think we're going to have to go back there and look at that, evaluate what that looks like. But the first phase, it doesn't look like it fixed every problem that was identified.
Okay. Okay. Because if I remember correctly, it was kind of a do the project and kind of wait and see how it all kind of.
Wait for like a year and see what it looks like. And
Okay.
there have been some changes in the drainage outside, and some things have shifted a little bit, so I think it's something we need to go back and look at again.
Okay.
And do we know if these issues, like the step 1, were identified before the bond had passed?
I believe that there were some issues Matt identified. I don't know if the extent of what was planned before and after the bond issue were necessarily the same, but there were issues identified that we knew about with moisture and what was having to be done in the school building as far as dehumidifiers and some of the floor issues and things like that.
Okay, so bond allocation money was geared towards this specific
Correct.
problem in and
Correct.
out? Okay.
Correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any more slides?
I do have one more, yeah.
Okay.
So the timeline for the bond 2023, we borrowed $89.3 million. Majority of that money was spent in Lincoln EHS Common, security entries in Midway. 2025, we borrowed another $10.7 million, and 85% of that has to be spent within the next 3 years. So by 2028, 85% of that $10.7 million will need to be spent.
And so as long as the 100% is spent by, is it 2030?
2030.
Is that, okay. But we have to have at least 85% of that committed. Spent.
By 28. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it's April or I don't remember when we did the bond issue, but yeah, essentially 3 years from that date.
Okay.
Is that unspent money accruing interest right now?
Yes,
Okay. How
it
much
is invested.
until we start having to pay more arbitrage? Is that the right word?
Correct. Yes.
So right now
So
we're
as-
scheduled 3 million?
2 million.
2 million?
Yes, so that kind of ties into the whole first bond project. So the answer is yes, it is invested right now. It is earning interest. 85% guaranteed spending within 3 years eliminates the arbitrage penalty. If you do the phases, it's like 5% in 6 months and 85% in 3 years, 95% in 5 years. That eliminates the arbitrage calculation. But as that interest is still being earned right now, and that's something that we will need to go back. So one of the things that I've talked to Dr. Duncan about, we have to go back and look at the arbitrage calculation again for the whole project. So this part would be a separate arbitrage, so it's kind of like two, because one's running based off of 23 and one's going to be running based off of 25. So it'll be two separate ones. So that is something that we would have to do until that project is started and begins expending funds, right? We just have to be mindful of that spend within 3 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Go ahead.
Do we have a definite dollar amount at this point? What is left, or do we need to wait until there's more decisions made on some of these
Right.
projects that are ongoing, or where are we?
So we are closing 3 projects right now. So that would be Lincoln Phase 1, the Commons, and the security entries. So those are all approaching closeout, meaning we will have a better idea in the next couple months, month or two probably, as to whether there are funds available from like the security entry project or the Commons project or Phase 1 at Lincoln, right? That would kind of go back into the construction fund. Probably in the next 2 months.
2 months?
Yes. There are some things we're dealing with on the security entry project that we're still working with Holland on. One of the items tonight is a couple of items that were being discussed to do at the Commons area, and whether or not the school board wants to pursue those options and spend the money associated with those 2 options, or whether it wants to not do that and just kind of wait and see where that construction project lands. We have some estimates that they're very high level right now because they're still closing out things from the 2 projects. Secured entries, maybe 200,000. We're working through that. The Commons project, maybe around 330, 340 right now, with 2 items that are up for discussion that could take between 90 and 120,000 out of that. And then Lincoln Phase 1, we've had 1.1 million returned already. I'm not sure how much will be left from the rest of that when Phase 1 is closed, since that 1.1 has been returned. But that's something that we're working through right now to try and get those projects closed out and see where that kind of lands. The other thing that I need to do is looking at arbitrage is I want to go back and have them do another calculation. It was about a year ago when they did the last one. I want to do another one because of the interest we've earned and things like that to make sure. The one thing that we're still, that number hasn't gotten worse, right? The one thing that is important to remember with Lincoln is though with Lincoln, since the vast majority of that 89.3 million that you see up there is, a lot of it's Lincoln. Lincoln we got a 5-year exemption on Lincoln, so the arbitrage calculation does not apply over 3 years, it's over 5. So it's given us longer and to spread that income out, or that spend out, so it doesn't hurt as much. But right now, for the most part, that 89.3 covers those 4 items at the top. And really the conversation right now is about the extra 10, the other 10.7. So there's, in the big scheme of things, there's not going to be a lot left. I mean, there's going to be hundreds of thousands down, but when you're talking about 89 million or something like that, it's not a lot in percentage-wise. And then we will have a better idea of that in a couple months, like what that looks like. And then the 10.7 is really a conversation of what to do with those projects done now. So obviously the only project that would be, quote, left right now is probably going back to Midway again, and then phase 2 at Lincoln, which we're sort of in the middle of, but from a spending part, probably in the initial 25% stage of that project.
What are the chances that our cost for the initial $89.3 million it exceeds and goes into the 10.7 million?
That's a fair question, Matt, and with Lincoln being the biggest one, I want to see what Lincoln looks like.
Okay.
Do I think it's over that all in? From a construction standpoint, no. All in cost are more than 87 or whatever, because those are just the construction costs. So the architectural fees and all that are outside of that. But from a construction standpoint, all of those projects, at least from a guaranteed price right now, are below those guaranteed maximum price contracts.
Okay.
They're below. That's the kind of the summary where we're, at least where I've been told today where we're at. So Lincoln 1.1 million returned already. Secured entries maybe a couple $100,000, and the commons maybe 300 and something thousand.
Right.
That'll be returned back.
I'm just referring to the numbers that Dr. Shelton provided us in the past, and we're 17% over,
right,
for a total of $13,768,000 and some change. So I'm curious on, at some point in time, that $89.3 million dries up.
Right. I would have to see what you're looking at, because I think some of the numbers that were provided, I'm not sure if they were all in cost or just construction cost.
Right.
And Lincoln Phase 2 significantly changed when we went from doing what I would call it a soft renovation to a complete renovation that added millions of dollars to that Phase 2 part.
Meaning taking it all the way down to the studs?
Basically gutting everything and starting all over, yeah.
That was how much?
Yeah, God, man, it was millions, I know that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was significant.
But there was discussion
It went,
to make it
we did,
look like a new building
Right,
versus look
Right.
like a renovated building.
Correct.
And comparing
Correct.
it to some of the other newer
is
buildings in the district.
correct, yes. and
But
that was-
that came off the bottom dollar that was also allocated for other projects on that list.
You could say that, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Some of the projects that were on that list, would you mind going back a couple screens? There you go. we have had discussion that it comes, the playgrounds specifically coming out of O&M instead of out of bond money. Is that accurate?
It was discussed. I don't know that,
Yeah, I don't
because,
know if it
because I was
something-
surprised to find out later
Right.
at a couple of meetings
So,
that it had been decided, and I don't
right.
even remember
Right,
that
so
necessarily being.
to answer your question, Joe, from my perspective, are there some playgrounds that could be renovated and done from an O&M fund? Yes. Are there others that are relatively expensive that would be hard to pay from an O&M fund? Yes. I'll give you one. Nelson's an example. So Nelson's, I mean, it's been 10 years probably since we did the estimate, but it was over $1 million, I think, if I remember, to do what needs to be done in Nelson. For the whole area in the back and the retaining walls and all that kind of stuff. So if that was something that had to come from an O&M fund, obviously that's going to restrict your ability to do anything else in the year that you do that, right? A lot of the other playgrounds are modifications to the pour and play system and things like that. While expensive, it's not the expensive extent of the expense like at a Nelson. So that's part of the other conversation that I'm not sure the whole board we've gotten into yet about, like, when it says safe and accessible playgrounds, or you're kind of matching it up with other priorities. Some of them could be done for O&M, but there are at least one I know for sure, Nelson, it would be hard to do from O&M.
So from a priority list, and I know in talking with a bunch of board members, we talk about priorities as of this list right here, or priorities as far as, asbestos. Do we address all the asbestos that's left in the district where there's an ability where it was listed on the priority list? My concern with regard to the priority is because, Hamel is the next on the list that's not really been addressed from the bond perspective. But the level of investment that was determined to be needed to fully complete the way that it was originally designed, we don't have that money for. And so I'm trying to gauge, do we go all in on a building that we're not going to be able to do everything on that we would like, or, still have it a priority where we address as much as we can, but still have money to use for other things. The problem is that, you're at a point where some of these projects it's a binary decision. You're either in all of it for that because that's what it requires, or you don't. And I'm just want to acknowledge, the board is getting tons of emails on both sides, as far as, people that are focused on the north, people that are focused on Columbus, people that, want other things, that are on the list to be higher up. From my perspective, the list that you see before you is the priority list, and I don't want to go away from that. The question is, what element of that list, is the investment going to require to be able to at least move the ball down the field and still potentially do something somewhere else as well? Whether it is get to the Nelson or the Warden playground, or, some playground that really kind of needs that help as well. So I think for me, that's where when we say let's vote on the priorities, I guess I want to understand more just from the board and the discussion, what does that mean? Does that mean that we are committing ourselves that the remaining money just goes to one particular topic and then everything else is off the table? Or, because, we've heard a lot of discussion about the importance of asbestos, and we have more than one school that's got asbestos in it. do we, make the priority the asbestos, and then we make that the focus for the schools, knowing that we're not going to be able to do as much structurally as we would want. So when I hear priorities, let's define what that priority is. We know we don't have enough to at least complete the first that's on the list of the priority that's not been left. So it's kind of, it's hard to finish that. And I think that's where I struggle with this decision, and it's unfortunate that we're kind of in that position based on what we have left. But I'm trying to do as much good as we can. It's not going to be perfect,
Would
but
the
as much good as
asbestos
we can.
qualify under the health by safety?
Can
Or
we
is
draw
that-
from that a little bit?
Yes.
You can't, because it was already identified.
Right.
Yes.
And we
And
have
that's
how
what,
much to
2,
do with
3?
that.
That's the part I don't remember off the top of my head what that estimate is in a 10-year health life safety. And it's the extent of what you do, because there's asbestos, I believe, obviously in the pods, but I think there's some in admin, obviously, and there's some in like the transom windows and transom lights and things in the commons area and stuff like that, so.
So, I was hoping that through this process, I mean, Matt, if you want to provide more clarity as far as from a priority, what would you hope that if we were to vote in 2 weeks at the next meeting, what is that priority we're voting on?
Well, I mean, my hope was that we had the discussion that we're having tonight, but it ended in a vote. That was the whole purpose of putting an action item. Because we delayed the 2 weeks to get here tonight, and now we're delaying another 2 weeks to go down there to their next meeting. My goal is to me, if we're spotting our values on integrity, is to stick with our integrity of the district and stick to the priorities that were set by the public. I mean, it's not like we can look at these things and say, well, public, you got it wrong. They got it right, according to them. And we need to honor those votes.
I'm not arguing that. I guess my point is that, so if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, is that even though the estimate to do everything that had originally been promised was 15 million, but we only have 10 million, what does that look like?
Well, that would be the reason to vote, to say, okay, is Hamel going to be our priority? Then yes. How are we going to spend what we have? What are we going to be able to give them as well as give maybe somebody else? I agree with you 100% that maybe we don't dump all $10.7 million into there. Maybe that we take care of a playground like Nelson that is going to require extensive construction. But without a decision, we can't move forward. We can talk about it. We can keep talking about it, but that's as much as we're going to get.
Okay.
The last board meeting, we were presented with options. We all were in agreement that, well, I would say most of us were in agreement that we needed to stick to the priority list. And the question was asked, do you have enough information to proceed? And Dr. Shelton says, I think I have enough to explore Hamel. Well, of course, that costs money. All right, and why dump money into something that we don't have 100% board commitment on or a voted action item on to say, yes, we're going to spend this money on Hamel. We're just throwing it all away. So I think, I listened to that board meeting again before I came here. I'm gonna hit the nail on the head that this has to be done carefully and strategically so we get the maximum amount of what we can with this project, with this $10.7 million. But again, it has to start somewhere, and talking is cheap. Action is what gets us going.
Yeah, we need to move forward on an action because we have continuously talked about this, especially since our onboarding since March, April. So to me, safety is a priority for our staff, our kids, and those that live in it day in, day out. So if that's subdividing between the biggest priorities, to which I would say it, in my opinion right now, everything is important, yes, but let's get started on Hamel, but let's look into Columbus, because if there's structural issues for Columbus, that's just as important So I'm not waiting for a catastrophe where the wind sneezes and then it shifts things to what the mayor of Hamel just said, and then we go, you know what, we have a crisis. Now what are we gonna do? Let's get started on what our safety measures are, whether it's 2 out of 3 or it's all 3, and we utilize what funds we have, and then, I mean, it's no different than building a tiny house. It's you and your husband, and then we're gonna have a baby, so we're gonna add on to it. So we can have these different wish lists, but at that point, now they're wish lists. But the biggest thing is the house safe first and foremost. So if that's remediating things at Hamel and looking into things of what we can do for Columbus, let's get started. But we have been, I said the last session, we are talking in circles and there's no action to this. So we have at least a certain amount to start with. And then if it comes down to justification of what we need to add for growth up north, and decide if we're merging two entities or if we're leaving them separate based off of what's best for these communities, so be it. But we have to get started somewhere. So delaying the process even more, I'm in agreement with Matt, it is not good for us. It's not good for these teachers. It's not good for the students. It's not good for these families. This is something that was promised, and now we're banking off of almost 3 years now. So that's not fair. That's not fair to these individuals that have been waiting this whole time, and we need to start with something, and it needs to be tonight.
I've got an opinion about the timing of it. I think last year was very taxing on everyone in the district with all the construction that was getting done with the secure entrances at several buildings and all the other construction that was happening. And it doesn't just affect the architects, the construction people, and the administrators. It affects, moving classrooms, so that's the custodians or the tech people, Jean's group, and things like that. And there's some things that are, I guess, I would hesitate to have a big construction year in this next coming summer like we've had in the past 2 summers. There's other things going on that we had mentioned. I don't know that, I know we've not approved anything, but tuck pointing buildings and things like that. And I think for the administration and, like I said, all the support staff, all the way down from, the grounds, maintenance, technology, the teachers moving classrooms within buildings and things like that, I would be in favor of having minimal construction this coming summer. That doesn't mean we can't set a priority, but as far as going out and getting bids and things like that, I would say let's wait the next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be nice to not have a hectic summer. But I think I think we're kind of at a point that even if we vote in 2 weeks, I don't know that we can start a project next summer anyway, based on the timing and the bid process. I think we're kind of at that point.
Because we've neglected to move forward with an action item. And that's not fair.
And it was said that it doesn't have to be over the summer, that the addition of the new gym could be done while kids are in session, because that does not require the asbestos remediation.
Okay. So to further, do you have something else?
Well, I would just echo, I think that, when you look at the top 5 priorities there, the only one that hasn't been at all addressed is the Hamel remediation and rebuild piece. And so, to me, that is, I would echo, some of the comments from Matt and Sarah, that it is one that needs attention, as it's a priority for the community.
Okay. But do we need an action item for that? Or do y'all, we can do an action item in 2 weeks, but do we need an action item to at least start getting that plan ready? We kind of were already sort of on that path.
What would the action, you're saying like an action item to
Well, Matt was
continue
wanting an
the-
action item to basically commit to going the next step with Hamel.
Well, that's what I was proposing, is that, hey, let's all agree right here, right now, that this is what you know, that these are the priorities that we're setting. Because no matter who's sitting in that chair over there, they need a clear direction on where we're going so they can manage their projects, manage their day-to-day operations. And if we don't agree as a board and we just sit around and not make a decision, it just delays that entire process. That was my whole point behind having the action item. The second action item that I proposed is if Hamel did remain at the top of the list, to then agree to proceed with the construction planning process that was mentioned in our last board meeting. Where do you want to go from here? Because anything from here costs more money. And rather than throw money out the window for a project that all of a sudden drops from number 3 to number 8, it's a waste to me. Let's commit, let's go all in on it. Let's figure out how much we want to spend, what our options are, and go from there. And if we can sneak in an extra project or an extra remediation or an extra playground, then so be it. With the delay in the money and the interest that it bears, maybe we can do something else. But now we're delayed another 2 weeks.
Okay. So, okay.
Can we get from administration if there is asbestos throughout the district, other buildings, where it might be, or what it might take to, you know, to what, how extensive it would be?
Yes, I'm working on that request, yes.
Okay. So in 2 weeks, we will have an action item to commit and then go forward. So, okay. Do we need more discussion?
I just want to make it totally clear that of all my research before I became on the board, and then if I'm presented with a project, I dig and I dig and I dig. And during my entire, I guess, let's call it an investigation because that's the only word I know from my previous job. When I get into this, I watch YouTube videos, I watch board meetings and everything else, and there was talk about consolidation, but that talk, as we heard tonight, was thrown out the window because the community didn't support it. Yet we're told in the last board meeting that, oh no, Hamel was, their construction was contingent upon the consolidation, which by all evidence that I uncovered is not true. So if any other board member that is here has any other disagreement or any other idea or information that can prove that it was part of that, please let me know, because I have uncovered nothing. And all the information is still on there on our website, minus the video, which is gone now. But you can watch the exact same presentation on YouTube on the League of Women Voters, and it's on there. And it was said that we're doing Midway and Hamel, and we have enough money to do everything. But
Yep,
that's beside the point.
that is true.
And part of the consolidation in the last month or whatever is been brought up, and it was brought up tonight in some of the speaking, is the specialists and things like that for the special.
Staffing issues, and equity.
Administrator,
Yes.
yeah.
So it might not have been at a board meeting, it might have been other, you know, whether it was emails or other conversations, not because of, to close one building down or whatever, but there was other decision, or other discussion why it would make sense to consolidate or not consolidate.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I guess we'll make that an agenda item for the next meeting. Okay. Nothing further, moving on. 3.2, Liberty Middle School gym.
So in the spring, Liberty Middle School's gym flooded. They had a volleyball hit a sprinkler head.
Just before a board meeting.
Just before a board meeting, floor flooded, and so it was covered by insurance, and so now we are in fall 25, and we're beginning installation. We were notified late August that we would need to add an additional, pretty much is what it's called as a mitigation barrier, because of the humidity in the floor. And so at this point, our mitigation, we initially had one layer of mitigation, but the company has determined that we need an additional one. The threshold to jump to the thicker mitigation barrier is 85%. All of our readings are above 90. If we don't add the mitigation barrier, the Missouri Flooring will not insure our floor. So what happens is if you keep with the thinner layer of mitigation, the floor could bow, water could come up. There's nails and screws also in the floor which could pop up and cause significant damage to the floor, and it will not be insured. So discussion topic is, if this is not voted on today, if we don't approve this, what's going to happen at Liberty is PE will be impacted tremendously because their floor, they can't use the gym. Right now, they're only operating off of one gym. There are many days where there's 5 sections of PE going on in 1 hour. Not only will PE be impacted, boys basketball, girls basketball, volleyball, dance, cheer, wrestling, all use the space as well. So for this mitigation, additional cost to the mitigation is $45,000.
Any questions?
Is the floor that we chose the exact same floor as what we had? Or is it a different grade, different material?
Same floor, right, Dave? Or
It might be different.
I just, you know,
Because I think the,
I thought there was a reason they didn't make
they
the
didn't
floor
make, they
anymore.
don't make
Yeah,
this one.
I
I
remember
thought-
that. Yeah, they don't make this floor
Okay.
anymore.
It's a different
Yeah.
type
Okay.
of floor. It's something similar to what's, maybe not exactly the grade of high school, but it's something along those lines.
so this isn't a self-created issue because we chose a different floor. This is material has changed over time and now it requires extra stuff.
it's due to the humidity. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not a self-gradation. It's because
Okay.
our humidity level in the gym and the floor is increased.
Okay. And then with the damage that occurred from the sprinklers, where's insurance fall into all this?
Insurance is covering the floor. We're having a conversation with them about this. They
Okay.
have not initial reaction was not to cover this, but I have not pushed back to have those conversations.
So is the potential that we're just fronting the money and insurance will cover it down the road?
Potentially.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping for, but in order to keep the project moving and not get behind with Missouri Floor, I think we need to do this and then kind of continue to work with
Get
insurance and see if they can
basically.
do something else. Right?
Because what Missouri Flooring told us, if we don't commit, what's going to happen is we're going to get bumped, and so they're going
They'll
to
move
do,
somewhere
they're going to do
else.
another school, and so then potentially they may not start our floor till January.
Okay.
What bucket of money does this come out of?
This right now would just be an on-end
O&M.
expense. Yeah.
So off topic but related to, are mitigation barriers in our other gym floors?
So so when they did the high school one, I'll answer the high school. When those floors were constructed, there probably is.
Okay.
The high school didn't need this kind of change because it didn't have the same
Humidity.
issues that Liberty has.
Okay.
Do we know why the humidity level is
Well,
significantly higher?
Liberty, I mean, from the recollection, when Liberty was built, there was a lot of work that was extra that had to be done because of the water level of the property that this school is built on. And I think one of the things, as Dr. Duncan is here for a long time, one of the reasons the air is set the way it is here is because the minute you move the air conditioning one way up a little bit, it seems like there's condensation that comes up through the floor and stuff like that. So there is a reason sometimes why this building seems like it's colder. Because when we've adjusted those temperatures in the past, it causes the floor to get slick because there's this moisture that starts kind of coming up. But I think a lot of it was based off of what the water content of the land was that was built on.
And this building doesn't seem like it's cold. It's always cold, Dave.
It's always cold, yes.
It's always cold.
Any other questions?
And we'll vote on this later.
This will be an
this
action
evening.
item, that's correct. Okay, next item, 3.3, EHS Commons Project Change Order Discussion.
So there was a conversation at the high school about making some additional purchasing some additional acoustic panels. Right now, currently, we have an area of the Commons that has the original acoustic panels, not the ones that match the new construction. And so as you see, there is two prices here for the acoustical panels. The first one would be to completely match the new layout, $62,000, or to take the current layout and kind of paint them and upgrade them would be $40,000. So I have a couple pictures here for you to see. This is the currently in one part of the cafeteria. These are the panels that would be replaced if you guys made the decision.
So there would be more of those?
They would
than
look,
what there-
yeah, they would look like this. They could look like this if you went with this option.
So don't you get any kind of acoustic benefit from all those drama banners that used to hang up? I mean, I noticed.
Can't you double them up or
I
something?
noticed that they're not hanging anymore, so.
Yeah. So that would be, so again, this is
No,
the,
okay.
what they look like now in certain parts of the Commons. And then this is what the new ones look like. So this is more of a cosmetic.
And so if you went with option 2, it would be to basically paint the ones that are currently in existence, or?
Dave, you want to
It
speak to
would be,
that
I
one?
think it would be to replace them exactly the way they're built, so you wouldn't see a difference between, like, if you don't size them the same way, then you're gonna get behind the walls and you have to do stuff to the walls. The 40 option, I think, is just to replace them in the same spot with a newer panel. The other is more to match the diagram and stuff of what the new site looks like.
And is the replacement because the old acoustic panels are no longer functioning?
Right.
I wouldn't say that. They're old.
What is the average lifespan of an acoustic panel?
That's a good question.
Do you know how long those panels have been in there?
Probably since the high school was built.
Okay.
In the commons area, like we did when we renovated the band room and stuff, we put up new ones, but in the commons they're probably the same.
I missed the price up there. Can you go back one?
62 and 40, man.
What, would this come out of our budget or would it come out of the bond money?
Would come out of it would come out any potential remaining funds that we get back from the commons project. So right now, based on the email I had this afternoon, I haven't met with them yet. They're saying that number is somewhere around 330 maybe. So these would be things that would be taken out of that 330. So instead of getting 330 back, and we did these, we'd get 210 or 200 back.
Again, I'll revert back to the numbers that Shelton provided
Sure.
us. He has his $700,000 over budget at 13%, for a total of $7,600,874. So if this comes out, again, these are just numbers when we asked for the update that he provided us.
Understand.
So I'm trying to base my decision off of the 13% overage that we have, money that comes out of the bond, which if we don't use can be applied towards another promised
Right.
project.
So what I can tell you working off of this, so these numbers would be working off the guaranteed maximum price project that was set for Holland and the Commons expansion, which I think was 6.8 or something like that. I'm trying to remember. off the top of my head.
6.9.
Yeah. So it would be off of that number. So what they're telling me right now is, in essence, they've spent, quote, maybe 6.5 off of that number.
The original estimate is
Yeah,
reported
that
at
includes
5.6.
probably other costs. So the 6.8 is the construction cost.
Okay,
And I don't know if there was an original number. The original number would have been lower. That changed when the restrooms were added in.
right.
So the 6.8 was the final, or 6.9. So these amounts would come off of I think, like I said, right now they're saying their cost for that contract is about 6.5.
Okay,
And if we took these two items, the next one you'll see too, if we took those out, then it would essentially make the cost 6.6, so we would get 200,000 back instead of 330.
okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Okay.
second part of this
Do
conversation.
these have to be done inside the construction window, or can they be done at a later date?
Scott, they can be done, they do not have to be done as part of this. It can be, you can make a decision to consider it, but consider it in with any other maintenance projects that would happen this summer or next year. The other option, is, I don't know so much about wood trim. I'm going to make a comment on the acoustical panels, so you don't have to put it as part of the construction project. The district would have the ability, even if it's something that we wanted to do, to bid that direct and have it done.
Okay.
I guess what I'm looking at is if when we're weighing whether we want to work on Hamel
Right.
but we're willing to do acoustic tiles, I think we're putting our priorities in the wrong place.
Right. So,
Hamel, any monies that come back from the bond should be applied towards Hamel. If not Hamel, whatever project, Columbus or the playgrounds. I can't see prioritizing acoustic tiles over any of those others.
100% agree.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay.
Anything safety related,
yeah.
Agreed.
Again,
shelve this.
I don't disagree, that's the option. If it's something that we want to do, it can be enveloped into an O&M budget next year or whatever, if that's the direction, but
So
it
what
does
I'm
not
hearing
have to
is-
be,
So what I'm hearing is if we want to use bond money, we have to do it through this contract.
right,
Otherwise, we're looking at an O&M expenditure.
right.
Okay.
I think we should understand a little bit more about whether these actually need to be replaced.
I mean, it's already allowed in there
So
without,
do our high school
right?
students
Or
have
to
what-
put-
I mean,
what do they do? Like, I don't know, like, I
There we
feel
go.
like it's loud in there.
It's a
They're really
fantastic
just
question.
supposed to help not as much when you're in the comments, but if with the new side, there's like PA and mic, it dulls the noise when you speak over the intercom and stuff like that.
Are there any there right now?
Yeah.
Yes,
There are.
they are.
The brown.
They're the brown
The old
ones.
crusty
The
ones,
old
yeah.
ones that are right
Yeah,
above the
yeah,
cafeteria.
right.
Oh, okay.
right.
I always
Yeah.
wonder about those ones.
It keeps the sound from bouncing around the room so it doesn't sound so hollow. Like if you look up there, those are
Gotcha.
Yeah.
sound pounds.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have noticed. Like, I don't think any of us look up during the day.
I'm gonna be honest, in the new part, like whenever people talk on the mic, like it's not the problem that it's too loud, it's that we can't hear.
Can't hear.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
That's because of the panels.
Yeah, if the panels.
they work too well. They work too well. Okay. Okay.
I would say the same thing, and Alan can speak, the same thing with the second option, I think. If our feeling is probably not to do this and use the money that we're gonna get back from the
Okay.
project back. And then we can make a decision if that's something later on that is something you wanna do in a different bucket or a different avenue.
I think based on the prior discussion, I
can-
think we could just insert that into
Yes.
pretty much all these projects.
I-
Any extra money
I
needs to be
don't disagree with that right now.
reprioritized.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Can we at least look at my pictures that I took?
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll give you that, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, here are the columns that don't have the wood panels. Okay.
Wow.
There's some more.
Did you take that?
Oh, man, yeah. I sure did. And here's the new ones.
Ooh,
So, there you go. They look nice.
And is there a purpose?
It's aesthetics.
Yeah,
There is no
cosmetics.
purpose.
The ooh
Yeah,
factor.
well, that,
Yeah.
I didn't know as far as if you move furniture around and they knock into the other
Well, that's-
panels without the protection of the
I
wood or something.
particularly like, did you take a picture of the industrial design microwave holder?
No, that was not the intent. Just wanted a nice little
Okay.
picture there. Visual.
You can sort of see the microwave holder right over there. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool. You're not appreciating my humor too. Okay. 3.1.
Just for clarity, I'm still, what's the proposal for this?
Was to wrap
Those
the
columns
10
that didn't have those.
Wrap the other 10 that
To
didn't have
wrap.
it.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear you say, okay.
Yeah.
And it's 58,000.
That some have got it and some do not at this
I
point.
Yeah.
think they were going after consistency.
Right.
Gotcha, okay, okay.
Okay. And I guess if we hadn't had this discussion, nobody probably would have even thought about it, personally. But just my opinion. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dave, is this your?
No, I'm gonna get up and leave now.
Okay.
I think Jean has something. Hey, Jean? What's the email I sent? There it goes. So I just wanted to, there's just two, we've talked about this. There's two items I just want to bring back up. One is just formalizing or finalizing. This is the actual, what you'll see when the final audit reports are issued of where, we did a preliminary, but this hasn't really changed that much, but these are the final numbers. So, you see Ed Fund 14 million to 14.8 to 13. Our O&M went up about $1 million. Most of that resulting from not expending the money associated with the track and field project before the end of the year, which budgeted. So we committed that fund balance at the end of this last school year, going into to the year that we're in now. Transportation going from 3 to 2.5, and our working cash ending up at 6.2. So ending the year at a $32.4 million operating fund balance at 32%, a little higher last year, but ending the year at 32. Then you can see the other fund balances. None of those really changed that much. Tort dropped because of the timing of when we paid the contract for the school resource officers with the city of Edwardsville this year. And life safety, those numbers dropped because of the roofing projects were associated with the life safety bond issue just getting expended and completed this past year. And capital projects, nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, where that's at, I mean, in the process of where we're at with the construction projects. That includes the new bond issue. You see the 15 million, so the 10.7, 11 million with the bond premium that was when we issued those bonds, and then the other 4 million or 3 or 4 million was interest income on the bond proceeds that we earned last year. So just wanted to again put that in front of the board. That's what the reports will look like when you see them. As we talked about the budget, just as a reference right now, the budget is, I think, projecting an operating fund balance around 28% right now. So they give you a guideline of, like, as we start going through this year and then kind of projecting what that looks like going into next year, you know, the goal of 25% that we have for operating fund balance, what that might look like, and what those decisions might be as we go into next year, depending on where our EAB lands. And hopefully we'll have that information. I'm hoping at least a guideline in November so that we can start doing some initial projections on where we're at this fiscal year, and then looking at what that revenue looks like next year. If that leads to conversations of having to look at, like, budget, what the budget looks like to stay above that 25% operating fund balance threshold. So, like I said, I hope those conversations happen in November. I think that the EAB will go up again. I don't think it will be like 10% that it's been the last 2 years. So, I think the other thing I'll talk about, there's some other information with that. If you page down, Gene. that's just the summary that it'll look like from the AFR. But if you go to the next one, which is the financial profile, we'll still be in review category, so it's 3.35. It's the same as last year. What I'll point out is the biggest thing that is driving that. So obviously when you look at the top, we're still at a profile score of 4, which is the highest because our fund balance ratio is 32. It would drop if you drop below 25, hence the policy discussion that we've had. The expenditure revenue ratio, the reason that's a 3 is because you essentially, from the profile score, which we deficit spent like this year. So you'll see that negative number. That's why that score is a 3 instead of a 4. Same thing with days cash on hand. Because that fund balance dropped, that score dropped to a 3 instead of a 4. No long-term borrowing, so you're still at a 4, which is the highest. And then the percent of long-term borrowing, so because of the bond issue, initial bond issue, and then this last one this year, you're in that profile score of 2 because you're at 35%. What I'd say is you have the capacity to borrow 35% more, but as that number drops, that percent goes up. You get to a 50% threshold, you get to a 3, and you get to 75, you get to a 4, but that dropped when we did those borrowings in 23. So hence the review. From a health perspective, we're still at a 32% operating fund balance. But the days on hand and then the borrowing have kind of dragged that down a little bit. So, and then the only other thing if you don't have any questions on that, we pull up that federal compliance supplement. There is one issue that we're having. So the audit is, for all intents and purposes, I have the preliminary audits on my desk and the reports. But they are in limbo right now because with the federal government issues, the compliance supplement that the auditors use to do the A133 single audit, which is part of our audit report, which governs the activities of the federal grant programs and the compliance with federal grant programs. So there are no issues with any of our compliance, everything's fine. But because the federal government hasn't issued the supplement that the auditors are supposed to use, they're going off of the supplement from the year before, that's not been finalized, and they've been told that until they get a final supplement from 2025, they're really not supposed to issue audit reports. So while the audit report is scheduled to be approved at the next board meeting, there is a possibility without a compliance supplement that doesn't happen. And we'll just be in limbo. We have already filed an extension with the ROE because we knew of just the complexity of our audit with the 2 different reports we issued, that it wouldn't be presented until after October 15th. But the next deadline that's coming up is that they have to be filed with ISB by November 15th, and everybody that's obviously got federal funding is in the same boat because there's no compliance supplement issued, so any A133 audit's just kind of hanging out there right now. So just wanted to put that on the board's radar so that if you see an item was supposed to be on next month and it gets pulled, that's the reason. Okay.
Okay. Pretty clear. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Cool. Okay, on to Programs Personnel Committee, 4.1.
We have Ms. Tara Fox and Dr. Smith coming up to present.
Dr. Donna, do you want me to wait for Sarah's return or?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we are just going to kind of briefly go through just the overview of present curriculum and where we are from a standpoint of curriculum reviews, the process, what we're anticipating moving forward, and just kind of looking at it broadly. I'll try to do kind of a broad view because we could be here all night long
Sure.
if we go into every detail of every course that we have. So starting just with the process itself, so I want to just kind of go through what that process looks like because it has changed and we've updated it over the last few years. So the curriculum development process, first of all, there's just kind of general information, the reason behind it. So it serves to establish the clear student learning expectations in each curricular area, address diverse needs of students, ensure that continual improvement of the curriculum in response to changing educational demands. So that's really the one that kind of we want to focus on ongoingly. That doesn't always look the same. So that doesn't always mean each time we review a curriculum, we have all new resources and materials. Sometimes it's reviewing practices, and sometimes it's the actual materials that we use. Promoting consistency and progression within, between, and across grade levels and subject areas. That orderly, systematic process that prevents unnecessary duplication and ensures the responsible use of those resources and materials, and then supports the broad educational program in meeting the district objectives that are part of Board Policy 610. So really this is kind of part of that policy, is going through an overview of present curriculum. So the steps in the curriculum review process, there's a document that looks like this, 3 pages long, that goes through each of these 7 steps, but just to go over it kind of generally, starts with that initiation and planning, so establishing the need of that, of whichever subject area we're talking about. So we're determining it basically by ongoing cycle timelines. So we have had to kind of right the ship over the years because we had many years, in some cases decades, of not updating curriculum for many reasons. Financial for the most part, and there were other things that kind of came up and came in between those cycles. So we had decades to kind of catch up on, and now we're trying to get into an actual really good cycle where we're saying we're reviewing the curriculum now because we're at year 6, and that's when we review. But we still have some catching up to do with some of the particular areas. So once we have that initiation and planning, then we go to research and needs assessment. So we want to look at the strengths and weaknesses of our current materials and practices. So looking at exactly what are our needs, because sometimes we haven't updated materials in 20 years. We definitely need updated materials. There's been changes in expectations, changes in state standards, and other times it's just looking at how are our students doing. Do we need to make some tweaks, or do we need to continue the course? So really kind of checking out that needs assessment. And then once we determine that we do need to move forward with new materials, we go to request for proposal development. This was a change that we made from the previous way that we did curriculum reviews. In the past, prior to going to request for proposal, the kind of burden of vetting all of the materials was on that curriculum team, where we now send out a proposal where we put some of that burden on those curriculum developers to give us the information that we need. So we kind of put, these are the expectations of our district, and then they have to explain how their curriculum meets those particular guidelines. So that's the request for proposal, and then we just go through the steps once we get those back. So we review the proposals, evaluate, then we have selection and adoption of curriculum, and then implementation planning and ongoing monitoring and evaluation. So those are just kind of the steps in the cycle. And I will put this document to you guys so that you can see it more specifically, but I will move on. So here we are with our current curriculum, understanding that this is not an exhaustive list. So, but just generally elementary. So we are really close to being caught up at the elementary level. Science, and I put these in order of like when we're going to be addressing them next. So science, we had our full implementation of new curriculum resources in the fall of 2019. So the issue that came with science is that honestly, our teachers really didn't get the opportunity to get a good handle on those new curriculum resources when COVID hit. And then, we had the shutdown, and then we had the years of that uncertainty, time where we weren't in school as long as, we had those shortened days, and we had to really focus on math and ELA to make sure that our students were meeting those standards. So science is set for a new implementation review this year, because we're actually at the end of our 6-year cycle at this point. So we are going to bring a team together to just look at the resource that we currently have. The resource that we use right now is one that we purchased during COVID to kind of streamline the way that we taught science, so that the teachers would be able to use computers more, and because not having the kids for as long and not having access to some of the materials. So, and that resource is called Mystery Science. And it is something that they've improved significantly, so we will not necessarily be looking at new resources for science for next year. We're not going to do a complete overhaul of the curriculum, but we are going to look at what we're currently doing and just make some tweaks and improvements and make sure that it's aligned. So I just want to make clear, we are not rolling out new elementary science curriculum next year. Thank you. So PE and health at the elementary level, I'm going to say prior to 2000 was the last time we really looked at PE and health at the elementary level. So they are currently in review. We have a team that is working on that. It began last year in the spring. Math, our full implementation this year. Social studies was in 24. English language arts in 2022. And this is one, English language arts would be an example of something that's, as we come up for the new cycle, it is likely, the curriculum team will make the decision, but it is likely that we don't completely change the resource again, that we look at our practices, we look at the professional development for teachers, and we look at tweaking, because that's something that we've been doing along the way now that we're close to being caught up. And then here's when I said close to being caught up, here's where we're not. Elementary art and music. While our teachers have done a really great job of continuing to work together to update, we haven't actually done a curriculum study for as long as I can remember, for elementary art and music. And then with the exception of elementary STEM, because that course has changed over the last few years, and so that's something that has been updated. So there's where our needs are, kind of our next step, where we really need to look at updating the materials and updating their practices. And then middle school.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
The art and music, is that only what the art and music specialists do, or does that affect what classroom teachers?
No, I'm talking about what the specialists do, yeah. Yes. So middle school, this just goes through kind of where science is in the exact same spot. We are working right now on some middle school to high school articulation meetings and setting that up, because we're not going to full study in science at the middle school level either. And then you can see ELA, math, where all of those were the new materials, health, new materials, social studies just the year before. PE and health hasn't been officially reviewed, but they did significant updates when we went to the new middle school model, and then we adjusted it the year after that. So they've done some significant changes, but it's a step that we definitely need to take to look at that also. We're also working our middle school PE and health with our elementary, so our content lead at the middle school level is working with elementary so that we have some vertical articulation there. And then you have your elective courses, initial implementation in the fall of '23, and we have continually looked at those each year as we've added some courses, changed some based on different feedback from both students and teachers. And then we have our content literacy course that was first implemented in '21, and then it was updated in the fall of '22. Some of our middle school needs, performing arts, content literacy review. Some next steps we need to take is looking at, now that we have new ELA resources at the middle school level, really looking at how those two connect, because the first implementation of content literacy was because of a lack of reading instruction in sixth grade. Still is kind of that grade level where they still need some support in reading, and we didn't have reading instruction there. With our new curriculum materials that we rolled out last year, and our new practices, we really need to make sure there's not too much overlap with those two classes. So that's a step. And then just ongoing elective review. So continually looking at those electives and what tweaks we need to make there. And then Edwardsville High School, this is what I'm just going to kind of say generally how we do this, because there's a lot that goes into it. We do these reviews by department. So it's collaborative conversations between Tiersha Lenore, who is our curriculum coordinator specific to secondary, and then Kyle Stewart, associate principal, curriculum instruction, department chairs, and then some course specific teachers. So we touch base with department chairs and we talk through like which courses do we need to focus on. Typically focusing on graduation requirement courses first, but several of those and many of the departments have been updated, and we have some other courses that have been left behind, for lack of a better way to say it. So we're just kind of working through the process of setting priorities in each of those departments. Here are just some examples. Science, we are working on a review in science, in the science department in some of these courses, looking first at life science and biology. It's also important to note that our teachers have done a tremendous amount of work through our professional learning community process on a lot of these courses and aligning with state standards, and so they've already done a lot of the curriculum work, but we just really need to kind of look through their scope and sequence and any other things that we need to add or change. An example with science would be the lab tech class that we implemented this fall for the first time, and making sure that we have other courses within that department that will give the students the skills to be able to successfully enter that course. So just as we add courses, making sure that we have that alignment. And then these are all the areas that are either currently working or getting ready to start working. So in math, we have a couple of different courses that are currently under review. Math has been under review for a little over a year, so they have been working really hard at trying to align the courses and also change practices. Social studies, currently working on civics. The New World Geography resource started this year. World languages all have German and Spanish has new resources. We're getting French is finally finished. That was the curriculum developer. That wasn't our group, but now we're going to get ready to implement the French. And then physical education and health did the reconfiguration of courses. You have business and applied tech. We have some newer courses through Project Lead the Way, computer science, AP cybersecurity, and then consumer education. They are currently working as well. And then you have your English department who implemented new resources in 2020. So that's questions about that.
What drives the need to change the curriculum?
So multiple things can drive the need. So initially you're going to be on a cycle where you're reviewing it each time, but it could be the performance of our students. If we're seeing that, we see certain areas where they're underperforming, we may need to look at, is it a curricular issue? It could also be changes in Illinois state standards that cause us to have to kind of shift or change what we teach. But more than anything, now that we're kind of back on track, it's just being in a regular cycle to ongoingly review what we're doing and just make sure that we're still meeting the needs of the kids.
Not just to make sure that line continues and doesn't decrease.
Yeah.
Now, when the curriculum changes, does that mean all new lesson plans for the teachers and all new?
If curriculum completely changes, yes.
Okay.
When we review curriculum, though, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to completely change.
Okay.
Now, recently, if you see everything that I just put up there, more recently, it has all changed because we were behind on everything. We needed to get everything caught up. Now that we're caught up, it doesn't necessarily mean each time we review that we will change.
Just may add in a little subject.
Yeah, we add
or something.
in a little bit, or we may adjust when we teach something because we're seeing the kids' response to it looks different, or
Okay.
just depends on.
And the teachers would then have to learn all this new curriculum. How many times, like if I were a teacher, how many times would I have to learn this new curriculum and teach a different curriculum? Is it on a yearly basis or a semester basis or?
So it depends on what level you teach. So, which is why I specifically mentioned to elementary about science, because elementary teachers are I'm an elementary person, so I can say disadvantage, right? Because they teach everything. So anytime you change something, that's going to be new for them every single year, where you have, in most of your other cases, at your secondary, they're content specific. So you might not change, but every 6 years. So they're not going to necessarily learn a whole new curriculum,
Gotcha.
except for every 6 years if you change that quickly.
Gotcha.
So it really kind of depends.
Excellent job, thank you.
So on those areas that you identified as needs for elementary and for middle school, is there a plan to start looking at those, like the art and music?
Yes, those are something that we'll start to look at. We'll
Okay.
start to put our team together towards the end of this year and then,
Okay.
and then start for next year. Everything else was currently in
Okay,
process.
great.
Mhm. And then this, just as, also as part of policy 610, I think it's the right number that we're on, right? Program implementation plans, there is no change to this. I just put this in here so that we're all aware, the EHS 7 period day, the implementation is now set for not before the 27-28 school year. Currently, we have 4 subgroups of the larger committee that are working, and those subgroups were determined by the committee based on the feedback of the high school teachers when we sent the kind of original plans to them of what the needs were. And so we have a teacher support subgroup, special populations. We're looking at students with IEPs, our multilingual learners, our students with 504 plans, our very high achieving students, so any special population of students, intervention, and then career pathways are the 4 kind of subgroups that are working. And then the last part of, these don't all feel very interconnected, but they're all part of that policy.
It
So
is.
that's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
this feels like a bad transition here. But another part of really the whole curriculum process is, and part of our request for proposal that we put together, that we put out to our curriculum companies is, how do your materials eliminate bias? And so just as general information, when we first came back to school in 2020, 21, we were in the middle of a social studies curriculum review. It actually had started before the COVID shutdown. We stopped it, we kind of started it again. And we worked together with a professor out of Indiana University on setting some equity principles that we could kind of base, especially for social studies instruction, around as we were putting out these requests for proposals to these companies to say, explain to us how you address these things. They were very specific to social studies because that's kind of a natural place when you talk about equity principles. But essentially, he works with us and we took a group of teachers from K through 12 across our district through several different activities, and together we created the equity principles, which are 12 principles that just center around curriculum, instruction, and outcomes specific to social studies education. So from that, then Dr. Smith and I worked together to establish equity principles that we could use more generally across all curriculum areas as we're looking at review and also as we're looking at our practices.
Okay, so I will go through those equity principles that Tara has referenced, and I'll give a few examples of each of these. I will try to stay as brief as possible. The first one is design curriculum that reflects diverse identities and experiences, highlights multiple perspectives, and amplifies historically marginalized voices. So that could be as simple as reading literature by authors from a variety of cultural backgrounds, including historical case studies from perspectives often left out of textbooks. For example, indigenous leaders, female scientists, and immigrant communities. The second one, develop curriculum that upholds high expectations for all learners while providing equitable supports to ensure true access and success. So what that could look like, offering advanced coursework and enrichment programs with support so every student can participate, differentiating instruction to students so students at different skill levels can achieve the same learning goals. We want all of our students to experience success in our schools. The third one, create curriculum that affirms student identities by connecting learning to their lived experiences, cultures, and diverse local and global contexts. What that looks like, encouraging students to write essays or projects about their family histories or local communities, using math problems or science projects based on real life scenarios so that students can make the connection. They don't always see the connection, like, why am I learning this? How is this applicable to my life? Incorporating cultural celebrations, traditions, or current events into classroom discussions.
The fourth one, design curriculum using best practices to ensure accessibility, multiple pathways for engagement, and equitable opportunities for all students to succeed. So providing materials in audio, visual, or written formats, our students learn differently. Using flexible seating, adaptive technology, and alternative assessment methods. Some kids might learn better sitting on a bouncing ball. I know it's hard to believe, but I've seen it. Number 5, promote linguistic diversity by valuing home languages, providing multilingual supports, and fostering English proficiency with respect and inclusivity. So that looks like translating important classroom materials and communications for families in their home language, celebrating bilingualism, and sponsoring dual language events or clubs. I think it was about 2 years ago, we started having meetings specifically with our multi-language families at Manny, and the other night we had our first virtual meeting, and we were able to use this technology called Translate Live, and those parents could join our meeting by choosing the language of their choice, and they could understand everything that was being said. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Number 6, continuously assess and refine curriculum using data and teacher development to address inequities and meet the needs of all learners. So what we are talking about here is in perfect alignment with our PLC process, and reviewing test scores, grades, and participation data to identify achievement gaps in our students, making adjustments as needed to lessons if students are consistently underperforming. Number 7, embed equity into ongoing curriculum cycles with accountability, sustained resources, and professional development to ensure long-term impact. So that looks like regularly reviewing textbooks and materials to ensure diverse representation, funding professional development and curriculum updates to support equity initiatives. Number 8, empower students by engaging them as active partners in learning by incorporating their interest and co-creating experiences with them. Letting students choose project topics for reading materials based on their interest. And the last one, equip students to think critically about inequities, explore justice and fairness, and see themselves as empowered change agents in their communities. That looks like assigning projects to explore local social issues and propose solutions, holding debates or discussions on current events with opposing viewpoints, connecting students with community service or advocacy projects to show them how they can use their voices as citizens in our community. Do you have any questions?
No. It's good examples.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good stuff,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. A lot of work went into that.
Yes.
So thank you. Okay. 5.1, mental health days.
Okay, so mental health days, this winter, we received notification from ISB that said that mental health days would be coded, no longer be coded as partial days, but they would be coded as full days. And so what that would mean if a student, let's say a student had an appointment that they had to go to in the morning and they came to school 2 hours later in the day, it would count towards a full mental health day. They get 5 of them as opposed to a partial day, and that's what we had been using prior to. So fall 2025, we received updated guidance from ISB, and ISB basically said it's up to the district. the district can make the determination if they want to do full days or if you want to do partial days. I can tell you our team believes our recommendation would be to do the partial day and return back to allowing students to take partial mental health days and not use the full day model.
Yeah, but they're not
Yeah.
gone the whole time.
Your dates are backwards, right?
Winter is in January, February.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I was thinking
I had
like
the same
December,
thought.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying they would would they, if they were gone all day, would it be still considered a half a day? Or do they have to come back to school or
So if they're-
start at school, one or the other?
So if they're going all day, it'd be a full day. But let's say
Okay.
they came to school late.
Okay,
I think the confusion came, and I think it was kind of reported in one of the prior board meetings, that it was going to be, if you chose mental health days, it was just going to be a full day,
Right.
regardless.
there was no choice.
No choice, and we're going back, now that we've been given the opportunity to make it our decision, we're going back to the partial.
Yeah, that's our recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But the board doesn't need to take action, you're just informing us?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, 5.2.
And the last one, this is kind of for you guys to talk about the Illinois Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly. Who wants to, as the board members, kind of who wants to be a part of this? There's a webinar coming up. Oh,
Oh, me?
I nominate her.
Oh, thanks, Alma. For sure.
Okay.
there you go.
So there's 3 people going, right?
This,
Or is this completely different
this
than
is a
than
little,
the
this
conference?
is
Okay.
different, yeah.
This
Well,
is
but you need to
webinar?
be in Chicago, I believe, to be the delegate to represent the district.
And yeah, and there's a webinar that's coming up that you have to hop on, and we'll,
And then Chicago's in November.
yes,
Yeah.
end of October-ish.
End of October.
Is it, when is the date?
It's
for-
November.
It's
right, the
November.
weekend
It's
before
like-
Thanksgiving.
It's right
like
before
the
Thanksgiving.
20th.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah,
the
right
something.
weekend
before
before
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, I was gonna say the students go, or have the opportunity to go if
Are you
you're.
guys going this year?
Yes.
Again?
Okay.
So what board members are going?
I'm going.
I'm going.
And I think Lynn
I think
is
Lynn
going.
is
Lynn is going. Okay, and Lynn has done this in the past,
I think so,
but.
yeah. But I don't know if she would like to do it again, or we don't necessarily have to decide right now, but,
Yeah.
but
We can talk about
it
it.
needs to
But
be a
only one of
decision.
you are allowed in the room,
Right. Now, when is that delegate meeting? Is that
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning?
Or at least that's the way, the one year I was the delegate, it was Saturday morning.
Okay. Okay, cool. I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I'll work that this week.
Good to have on the radar.
Yep. Okay, moving on then. Action considerations. Dave, do you want to get up here? Does he need a script or? That's okay. Okay, action item 6.1.
Do you need a screen?
Do you need a screen?
Okay.
Action item 6.1.
I ask the Board of Education to approval of the installation of the moisture mitigation barrier at the Liberty Middle School gym for an amount of $45,320.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Becky, please call the roll.
Bertles,
Yes.
Ahart,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Brianne,
Yes.
Carver,
Yes.
Patty.
Yes. Okay, approval of action item 6.2, Dr. Duncan.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve personal matters related to the resignations and retirements of employees as discussed earlier in executive session. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Becky, please call the roll.
Bertles,
Yes.
Ahart,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Brianne,
Yes.
Carver,
Yes.
Patty.
Yes. Okay, approval of action item 6.3, Dr. Duncan.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve personnel matters related to the appointment, employment, compensation, or transfer of employees, pending required certifications and professional educator license, completion of paperwork, and all background fingerprint checks completed and cleared as discussed earlier in executive session. May I have
May I
a
have a
motion?
motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Becky, please call the roll.
Bertles,
Yes.
Ahart,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Brianne,
Yes.
Carver,
Yes.
Patty.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Okay, that's it for the action items. Next meeting, agenda topics, you can see for review. We'll discuss the financial audit, the final GPM contract, construction services expansion project, change order, I guess, that we discussed, but it sounds like that may not
Yeah,
happen.
we may have the GMP without the change orders.
Okay,
We'll notify them tomorrow, yeah.
Approval of the ASB delegate, so we'll actually have that stamped out before then, and approval of the first reading of policies. And at this point in our agenda, we'll be returning to closed session, so. Thank
I
you.
got one topic.
Oh,
I went to LeClaire, and shout out to them and their staff was absolutely amazing. The energy they showed, the smiles and passion that they had, the 12 staff members that were present to give their presentation was just awesome. And just in case you're watching, I promise to be safe, act responsibly, work to solve problems, and show respect. That is something they begin their and end their meetings with, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
awesome. Cool. Okay. So thank you, everybody. We're going to take a